Leanne Riley, what a pleasure. How are we?
I'm good. How are you?
Very, very good. Yes. Very sunny where you are, out that window. Where are you?
I'm in my house, obviously. No,
Cool.
just sat at the dining table so you can see the patio and out into the back garden. So it's nice and airy.
Oh, lovely. I thought you might move to Barbados for that weather.
Haha. The sun's actually, it's rained a bit, but yeah, we've had some sunny bursts. You obviously haven't had much sun where you are.
Is that, you trying to say I'm pasty?
No, that is me.
God. It's actually a question that randomly does come up with most people um, about being a tanner or a burner. With recent weather, it just comes up in conversation. How about yourself? What are you?
I'll always say that I'm a tanner, but everyone else will tell you I'm a burner. So,
I think
bit of both.
everyone's. I think you know when like everyone's a tanner until they meet an actual tanner, and you think, oh,
I tan on my face and then lower down, like my legs stay white. I don't tan on my feet.
yeah,
So
I know what
yeah,
you mean.
I'll be a burner.
Nice, okay. And you've been coping recently. Good stuff. And how about your training and stuff? You're managing to get some. I don't know. Is it now at the stage where you guys are doing distance-based passing stuff, or are you on
Yeah,
your own?
not yet. They're taking their time with the women's game and the Tyrrells, purely because they stopped our league and obviously just left it. So there's kind of no rush for us to get back as such.
Yeah.
I know. I think Quinn's men went back today. Sorry, no, not today. Yesterday. So obviously they're trying to get back and finish their season. But for us, yeah, just still training at home at the moment, getting weekly updates, seeing what our pre-season looks like and when that's going to start. But at the moment we're still on our own, which is always a pleasure.
And you're managing to get some weights done? Are you running, or what's your thing?
Bit of everything. So I was really lucky and fortunate enough to be able to borrow some equipment. So I've got a barbell, got a couple of plates and things. So I've managed to keep up the majority of weights. Obviously, it's been a little bit restrictive, but I've actually done a good job. So thank you to those that have lent me the equipment. And
Do you
then
want to shout
yeah,
out anybody? Do you want to go for a little more public shout
yeah,
out?
yeah. So Surrey Sports Park. So there's a guy there who does some of the speed sessions with the Quins lot, James Wild. He lent me the barbell and things. And then Field of Fitness is a gym that I've worked at and done some stuff in, that lent me some extra equipment, some dumbbells, kettlebells, that kind of thing. So yeah, that's kept me going and kept me sane, definitely. And then yeah, a bit of running. I've picked up a couple of niggles, so I'm not running at the moment. So I managed to borrow a ski erg off one of my friends who I knew had one. Crazy that you've just randomly got a ski erg in your house, but they weren't using it, so I went and
Convenient
grabbed
for you
that.
though.
But then,
Convenient for you though.
literally, yeah. And then today, I don't know if you saw my story earlier. WKG Sports, I bought a bike off them at a reduced rate, so they've helped me out with that. So yeah, I've got a couple of options. I'm in a much better position than some other people, so pretty fortunate so far.
You're being super modest about the whole, oh, yeah, so how's training going? And you've just listed about
Yeah,
60 seconds of like a bike, a plate, you've got speed stuff going on. Fair
I've
play.
done well, but it's for like it's the people that I know. They're the one that's helped me out. I have nothing.
So where do you sit with the speed charts at Quinn's slash England slash general ladies game? Are you up there with the faster ones or?
Mediocre. I like to say if Jess Breach was on here, which I don't think she is, I
Uh,
do like to give her a bit of stick and say that I beat her in a race when we were doing speed one time. She says she was tired or not trying, but yeah, no, in the middle. I let the wingers do their thing and I'll just kind of be on the inside,
so you make the line breaks, you pop it off. Yeah,
make
nice.
them look good.
Yeah. Fellow scrum half to scrum half. I get it.
Nice,
Right.
like it.
So where did you find your speed coming from? Sevens game, or were you always quite a quick person when you were younger?
I actually wasn't quick at all. Not that I say that. Not that I've come. No offense to any forwards in the game. You do your thing. But not that I've
It's
come from
very
the
on the
forward
fence.
pack.
I like it on the fence.
I'd probably say obviously sevens helped. I did sevens for a couple of years. Had the privilege of doing that. But probably my teenage years, I went to Malton College, which was, I don't know, it's quite small in terms of the women's rugby side, but it was almost like an equivalent to Hartbury. We trained alongside some of the Northampton Saints Academy boys. It was a full-time rugby programme. So I probably, from 16 to 18, got my, my speed massively increased anyway, in those years when I was training with boys day in, day out, really. So trying to chase them down when you know you're actually not going to get them, but you carry on anyway just in case.
Well, the thing is, girl or guy, young or old, I guess the person who's trying to learn to accelerate needs something to chase to get better at accelerating, right? So it's a whole lot more fun if it's something to chase, not just some coach shouting, go faster. I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
If you don't mind me asking, that's actually, we've somehow segued quite nicely into like the middle section of the interview already, but there was something has come in about general speed work with women's rugby players. Not that it's much different or any different between men and women, but one of the questions came in was pretty direct. It just said, what type of speed work do you do at elite women's level? So if you wouldn't mind just getting stuck into that, there are some formalities I'll go through in a minute, but whilst we're on this topic, that would be quite good to iron out, if you don't mind.
Yeah, definitely. So we do 1 or 2 speed sessions a week. Obviously pre-season we managed to get a little bit extra in, but obviously I don't know how much you know, or the type of person that's put the question in. You have to do it when you're fresh. So if you're under any kind of fatigue, you're not going to make any games. So to do it in season is obviously a lot harder, coming off the back of a game every weekend. But I mean, growing up as a teenager, a lot of plyometric work, so a lot of body weight stuff, transferring weight into power, how high can you jump, how far can you jump, that kind of thing. Single and double leg, trying to get even off left and right, I think is something that's really helped me. And then just some resistance stuff and mixing things up. So your resistance sprints after doing some of your primers and probably those bounds and jumps and stuff that I just said, getting a bit of resistant work in, to then when you're unresisted, obviously it's a lot easier, and you put almost the same amount of effort in, and the amount of times I've nearly fallen over by going from resisted to unresisted because I thought someone was pulling back, you nearly go flat on your face if you haven't ever tried it. So yeah, a couple of sessions a week, maxed efforts, not much in terms of those max efforts, but just making sure that when you're going, and always doing it fresh, so getting your jumps and your bounds in, transferring your power through. I don't know if that helps. I can try and find some drills.
Yeah, no, very much so. You actually sound like you're quite into your PT, and you're quite into your training, not just from a participant point of view. You sound like you're into it from a delivery point of view. Is that right, or am I inaccurate?
Yeah, no, that's right. I am a personal trainer as well, so I do a little bit of work alongside my training. But not as much at the moment, obviously, with the England contracts coming in and World Cup coming up. So it's a bit limited, but I coach rugby as well. So I've set up a girls section at my local rugby club down the road. So I've tried to give those girls a little bit of insight. And next year, funnily enough, I'm also going to go into do my level 4 strength conditioning and kind of go down a bit of that route whilst training and playing as well. Thought I'd get some studying in. So yeah, I'm really interested in it, and I like you say, obviously I'm training myself, so to be able to give girls and boys the opportunity and try and relay some of my experience, I hope is at least a little bit useful to them.
No, really, really useful. Thank you. No, I'm just 2 things there. I'm just really aware that that's a real nugget of information there. Thank you. That's really, really helpful, because I'm aware that lots and lots of especially our female following, are going to be tuning into this. So for them to hear that from someone like yourself, really powerful. Thank you. And just more on a personal level, I'm aware that there are a good few hundred or so listening in, but just from one-to-one, as if no one else is listening, I've managed to also get to that level where I'm looking at my level 4 S&C. Where are you doing your level 4?
I'm doing it with APEC. Okay. So APEC. I actually got it through the RPA. They sent an email to us with obviously a lot of webinars and stuff since lockdown, and just trying to get involved in that. So I'm doing it through them. It's a sports kind of performance and excellence level 4 course. It's got loads of modules, but level 4 S&C was one of them. So I can send you over the info.
Yeah, I think I've seen them on social media before, actually. I think I've seen APEC. What's the chap's name? I've forgotten the title
Wes
now.
Corley is the guy that I've been in contact with so far.
Okay. And what's that? Is that a year sort of diploma type thing, or is that a longer sort of degree-like program?
It's a diploma to start with, so there's level 4, 5, and 7. I think you jump straight to. So I thought I'm level 3 personal training, so obviously just kind of going up from there. Really, I did that many years ago now, so it's been a long time since I've actually had my head stuck into some books. So yeah, level 4 diploma, which is 12 to 18 months, so flexible with rugby depending on competition and things like that as to what and when I can get done. So hopefully. I like to try and get it done before we lead into World Cup stuff, but you never know. And I'm yet to start it, so I don't know how full on the programme's going to be. But they've been really flexible so far, so it's been really good conversations.
No, it's good. That also does touch on something that we can probably come back to later. That does really touch on that whole potentially murky world, but good to discuss, that world of players anywhere between 23 and 33 just having something on the side to keep their mind busy and not just a family friend of ours was mentioning here, a friend of his at Saracens, he apparently has a side job of making tables, of all things, like carpentry type stuff. Yeah. Something to, if that's your interest outside of rugby, then you need to invest some time in it. Otherwise, as you're saying, 24/7, just head in rugby, thinking about rugby and worrying about it. So do you feel like that's one of the sort of mental releases that you can have at your level, is just go and either do some stuff or coach some stuff or be a PT with someone?
Yeah, 100%. As much as I love rugby and I coach rugby as well, it's just nice to get away from it. And there's only so much training you can do in a day. Don't get me wrong, we do train really hard, but we also have a lot of downtime, whether that's spent recovering, analysing, but there is a lot of time to do some studying. And it's actually lockdown that made me think about it a bit more. Last season, I did my level 3 coaching, which is over the course of a season. And with that, I ended up being able to get kind of a free nutrition certificate, which was all done online, which I did at the start of lockdown. Didn't take too long, and it was more of a refresher from my personal training and stuff a few years ago, but just to have a different kind of a different focus away from training and to look at the laptop and do a little bit of studying made me think maybe this will be good for me next season as well. So yeah, that's the reason why I went for it.
That sounds good. Where do you do PT now? If you don't mind me asking, are you doing any freelance stuff at the moment, or are you?
Yeah, just do some private work. So I see a family that I've seen for quite a while over the past few years. Obviously, normally I'd be going to their house, but it's all been done online at the moment. So yeah, we face some challenges, but it's been good. I don't necessarily advertise myself purely because I was doing things like my coaching, my level 3. So I wouldn't necessarily go out there and look for new clients, but people come to me every now and then. Got some Harlequins friends that are personal trainers and stuff as well. So if I don't necessarily want to take on the workload, I obviously know a few people and pass them on. So I like to think I've got a bit of a name in the area at least.
Yeah, no, I'm sure you do. I'm sure. I mean, you're an international sports player. It's not, it's not a small, it's not a small thing. It's a big reputation to have. But here's a question for you. Last one on it. What would you call your gym? Dream scenario: 6 months time, someone just says, here's a warehouse in a great location with all the kit in the world. What does Leanne Riley call her favourite gym?
Oh, I'm really not the creative type. I'd get someone else to name it and do the logos.
Me neither. You get someone on marketing. You should get some bod on marketing. Yeah.
It's got to be something to do with my last name. Riley's something.
Riley's lifting racks and something. Oh, I can't think either.
Something alright. Riley's Racks. There you go.
Yeah. Riley's Racks.
Love an alliteration.
Let's give it PG. Moving on. Sorry, as a question just come in. Actually, of all people, it's a community, it's a family club. From my dad. There he is.
Hello, Dad.
Do you ever exchange scrum half banter with the Harlequins men's squad? And if you do, is it mutually helpful? There we are.
I actually missed the start of that because I think I was talking over you.
Oh no, sorry. Is the connection okay? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
He says, do you ever exchange scrum half banter with the Harlequins men's squad? If you do, is it mutually helpful?
Do you know what? I actually don't see many of the men's squad. I speak to Danny Care every now and then. We're based at Surrey Sports Park, so when you're walking past each other in Starbucks, it's nice to say hello and takes an interest in the game. but there's not too much banter at the moment. Maybe when we've got a bit more daytime training and some access through that, where we can spend a bit more time kind of in the same environment. I'm looking at trying to get some skill sessions and things in with them. So the answer might change in the next year or two. But at the moment, it's probably a bit of a boring answer. Sorry.
No, not at all, not at all. I think he's actually just jumped back on it. He's just said, hi, Leanne. The question is from the Madre. My mum used to be a small world situation, but she used to be rugby family. My sister used to play.
Okay.
And then my mum used to be chairperson of Rochlin Park ladies, slingbacks.
Oh, nice.
So then, yeah, she got an invested interest somewhat.
Nice.
Yeah, it's
older or younger sister, and does she still play?
Thank you. Good question. She does not. She inadvertently gets involved in some older brother wrestling.
Nice.
I think that's all an accident, but yeah, she played Rochlin Park from the age of 5 up to 12, and then it's that awkward age, which we'll come back to that later. It's that awkward sort of drop off bit where you split the genders, and teenage life kicks in, and hormones, and some girls drop out, some guys drop out, and it's a tough time for the sport. Which actually brings us quite nicely, segueing beautifully, onto some introductions. So if you don't mind, just going to quickly formally thank some sponsors, and we can get cracking with how you began. So welcome, thank you very much to Harlequins in England, Leanne Riley. Our big thanks to our female sponsors, Adair, Chartered Surveyors and Construction Consultants, and our wider sponsors, or Magnus, Belushi's, External Concepts, Park Dean. Thank you to them. Now, if you don't mind, I'm summarising how rugby began and how you fell in love with it, please.
Yeah, so it began in primary school for me, which is probably a bit unusual, or you either see people get into it really young or a lot later. So one of my primary school teachers backed me in a lot of sports. I played all of the other ones apart from rugby, basically, that was available. And a local rugby club was hosting a rugby tournament, and obviously all the schools were getting involved. So I think back then it's kind of like the touch rules, where we needed 2 girls on the pitch at one time, and actually our school, not many girls put themselves forward. I didn't even put myself forward. Don't know why, just either missed it in the newsletter or kind of said thanks but no thanks, and they needed more girls. So they actually went straight to my mum and dad, and they called them one day during school and said, we're girls short for this tournament today after school. Are you picking Leanne up on time? Is she free? Can she come along? Long story short, I went along. I went to leave the gates actually at 3:30 or whenever it was that we left school, and the teachers were calling me back saying, no, Leanne, you're coming to play rugby. Like, your mum said your kit's in your locker, go and grab it. And I was like, all right, okay. So I'd never picked up a ball until this tournament, and it was a lovely day. We ended up winning the tournament, which is always a bonus when you're trying to get into a new sport. Not saying that was down to me. We probably had some decent lads on the team at that time. And the rugby club, part of the reason why doing it was they wanted to set up a girls section. So took a leaflet home, enjoyed the day, loved it, taken it to mum and dad, got my older sister involved as well. She played for a few years, and we went along to the following Wednesday night, and that's where rugby started. Where I fell in love with it was probably when it started, obviously, with it being a new girls team. There was girls of all ages, so there wasn't necessarily just my age. My sister's just over 2 years older than me, and it was kind of a little bit of a mix, and I remember being one of the youngest. And I just felt like, well, I was getting told I was giving the girls a run for their money. Obviously, it was only tag because it was mixed ages and stuff, but I just loved it and met some friends and kind of just got the bug as such, if that's what you want to call it. And yeah, one thing led to another, and I'm still here now.
The very humble ending to a long story. I did like that. That could have been a lot longer. I like that. You've been very modest there. You've gone from tag primary school to international 9. It's like, okay.
Yeah, well, still here.
Can I ask you, okay, so let's maybe address that 12, 13 stage. Because again, if you don't mind, a lot of our following, especially tonight, will be parents of young female players or female players themselves, and potentially addressing that awkward drop-off of 12, 14, where genders go to split and some clubs have to do combined age group stuff. Where were you for that process?
I had to move around clubs because one club folded, one had more girls than the other, but I know now it's under 13s, under 15s, and under 18s girls. Back then it was under 14s and under 17s, I think, was how it went. So obviously the pathway a little bit has changed, but yeah, it wasn't smooth sailing. When I went to secondary school after that, I was the only girl in my whole school to play rugby, and my secondary school didn't offer it on the curriculum. It wasn't a known thing that girls played rugby. So thankfully I'd already got into it and I had it as a hobby outside. So yeah, my first rugby club, I got brought up in the Midlands. So Old Coventryans was my first. Then I ended up going over to Old Leamingtonians. Then there was a couple of clubs, like you say, that ended up clustering together to make a team, and we come up with a fancy team name at that time that was kind of mutual to all the clubs.
Go on, give us an example.
One of them was City Rhinos.
Nice, like it.
So yeah, I say one of them. That's the only one in terms of clustering. So yeah, it was a little bit tough, and then as I kind of got into county level and things started to get a bit more serious, we had to make some decisions and travel a bit further afield. So I was slap bang in the middle of Worcester Rugby Club and Lichfield Ladies. I say ladies, obviously I was still a teenager. So depending on where I was at the development of my career and stuff, I kind of flicked between those for a couple of years. So it was tough. Didn't have, like I say, no one was at school kind of supporting me as such. I didn't necessarily have any friends that I could go along with, but Mum took me there. My sister was still involved, and obviously I had my rugby friends when I was there. It just involved a lot of travelling, which I know is part of an issue with the girls' game still, being a coach and having that drop off. So, I mean, some things I say to my girls, and especially when they have to physically stop playing with the boys because they're not allowed anymore and they've got to come across. Some of them can be really tentative. Some of them actually quite look forward to it. I'd always encourage girls to play with boys as long as they can. I think again, going back to my college days and playing with the boys and increasing my speed, I think it massively can help your development in that. So we run an under 11s girls team. I know it's not an official thing, and we only do that for girls that really, really don't want to play with boys. If you can play with boys up until, I think is it under 12s, under 11s?
Yeah, it splits at teenage years, yeah.
Yeah, I would massively encourage that because I love playing with the boys, and it improved my game with a rugby ball in hand and just generally the way I moved and things. So It's just that transition, isn't it? And knowing the transition and having the pathway within the club. So if girls that are playing with boys don't know about a girls team that's there, or their parents are starting to ask those questions, what are we going to do next year? There's not a girls team. If you're asking that question, it's probably too late. The club or whoever else should have been pushing that to happen a lot sooner, knowing that you've got girls in your age groups from under 7s, 8s, 9s that are growing up. I think it's massively down to clubs to kind of think ahead on that. And if you haven't got a girls section already, I massively encourage you to start doing that, because it gives girls an option. So those that don't want to play with boys, like we have that option of under 11s, then you've got the option. But like I say, I'd encourage girls to play with boys as much as they can until that cut-off point. I've probably rambled on there a lot. Sorry.
No, not at all. Not at all. It's actually the kind of answer that we really needed to hear, and we're doing everything we possibly can to keep and boost participation. We have good numbers at the moment. It's at that good stage. It's not bad. It's not excellent. It's just very good, and we're just trying to look at things that we can do and say and market for that exact purpose, to try and keep it appealing to those that are already down and make it even more appealing to those that aren't. So maybe we can do something offline afterwards, or the next few days or so, or like not days, but as weeks and months come in and it starts to come into that late August time before our season starts and the girls go back, and maybe we can have a chat offline about something.
Yeah, about
definitely. You or someone like that coming down to the club, and because I guess again that's such a big part, and you actually touched on it already about role models for younger people, guys and girls, but with this context, young female players at the age of 8, 10, 12, or 12, 14, they're thinking, well, where do I watch a game? How do I watch a game? Where are they? They're not on endorsement programs. I don't see them on the face of things like Maximus or Adidas or this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And so here's to it. Maybe we can chat offline, but that'd be really, really good if you
definitely.
were up for that. But yeah, thank you. Look, there's a couple of things that we do with each interview, and if you don't mind, one of them is a quick fire Q&A. pretty much just say what comes to mind. It is
Go easy on me.
An option or an option. It's different from each one. It's the same acronym. So it's Old Emanuel, our club name, with a question next to it. So whatever comes to mind first, just blurt it out. Don't worry too much about it.
Okay.
And then there's something else after that. Okay, so just a quick Q&A. And then we'll get stuck into our followers have sent in quite a few from all sorts of different angles. So after this, we'll get stuck into pretty much a script. So are you ready?
I think so.
Yeah, I hope so. Leanne Riley. Okay. Oranges or apples?
Apples.
Laid back or OCD?
OCD. Really badly.
Diving pass or back of the hand?
Diving pass.
Eccentric or generic?
Generic.
Mall or ruck?
More?
Neither, you're back. Addition or multiplication?
Addition.
Negative but clear or positive and fluffy?
Negative but clear.
Under or over?
Under.
Eggs or bacon?
Eggs.
Ladies rugby or women's rugby?
I've got to say women's rugby. It's Harlequins women now.
Perfect. There we are. Nice. All good. Stress over. Blood pressure comes down again. That's perfect.
Oh, heartbeat. I'm sweating.
Yeah, telling me. Right. I got starstruck when I logged in. I was like, oh, I got flustered. I turned all red. Right. Okay. Thank you very much. Perfect. Something that we also do occasionally is the person and their most recent Instagram post. Now.
Post. That's my new car, wasn't it?
Oh, there it is.
There it is. Mercedes-Benz. There's a shout out.
There it is. Yeah, Mercedes-Benz. Woo! That is a number. What's that? Can I elaborate, please? Tell the crowd. That's something pretty spicy to have in their driveway.
Yeah, been waiting for it for a while. Funnily enough, I was meant to pick it up on the Tuesday or the Wednesday, and at 6 p.m. on the Monday, the whole country went into lockdown, so I couldn't pick it up.
Absolutely gutted. Oh,
yeah,
no.
I was literally like, it was a catch-22 because I thought, okay, if I had picked it up and then we'd gone into lockdown and I couldn't drive it, I'm paying for something I can't even drive. So I was like, okay, think of the positive here. But that whole time it was just sat in the warehouse waiting with my name on it to pick it up. So yeah, thankfully I managed to get it. It's looking good. It's nice and smart. Yeah, love it.
Yeah, you got your baby. Have you always been a Mercedes kind of lover? You're really into cars, or is it more of a, I like something nice to have in my life to enjoy? I guess you're driving quite a lot for training, so.
Yeah, I think, I'm a little bit into cars, but I don't know too much about them. I just like things looking smart and being practical. So had an Audi Q2 before, which is a little bit smaller, which I got for little bit for coaching, for some boot space, obviously travel and things. But this was a little bit bigger, knowing that, I'm normally the one that drives to all the England camps, which can be scattered all over England. So I end up picking up 2 or 3 of the girls, and I'm designated driver, which I don't mind. I'd probably prefer to drive than be a passenger. I'm one of those people.
I know exactly what you mean. To be fair, in that car, you can start charging them. You can say, this is Uber Lux.
Yeah, commission.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just pop the tenors in the glove box. There we are.
Yeah. So part of it was being designated driver, a little bit of coaching again, bigger boot space, and potentially we might be getting a dog. Maybe. Oh, cool. So it was also kind of wanted to upsize to give us options, and then there's no need to worry. So yeah, I'm happy with it. It's nice.
Oh, honestly, good on you. Congratulations. It's a lovely car. I'm a bit of a car goon as well as you are as well. But yeah, I'm really into cars. I saw that and I thought, oh, cracking little social media post. Great work. Nice. Might come and me and a few people do some DPP work with Harlequins, and we're down at Night Sports Park. If I see a flashy looking 4x4 Mercedes, I'm like, oh, friends,
pop in.
Yeah, like ask for a lift from one end to
take
the
you for
other.
a spin.
Can I get a lift to Starbucks, please? Can you just
not allowed to drive from the bottom to the top? That's lazy.
I don't do that at all.
Only if it's raining.
Yeah. That would be lying. So, thank you and congratulations. Nice guy. Right, so if you don't mind, there are plenty has come in. So this may be a case of a question every 2 minutes for the next 30 minutes.
Let's get them in. Hate to
But yeah,
disappoint.
lots has come in from parents, coaches, female players, all sorts of things. So if you don't mind, we'll just go from the top.
Yeah, cool.
So someone noticed that in a YouTube England video, you said the phrase double points for girls in a game that you played very early on was something that you tactically got your heads around and it really sort of stuck with you. What is, if there is, a current day training example of that where, from a coaching point of view, where a coach would adapt the point system of a game to withdraw some tactical or technical ability from players?
I mean, I've done point systems before, and it can be depending on what you want to get out of the session. So if you're looking at more handling, and you might want to score points more out wide to encourage hands down the line, rather than points in the middle. So there's kind of point systems around that. I've done some point systems for either newer girls or girls that are less confident to necessarily get hands on the ball or screen for the ball, that kind of thing. So looking at maybe the transition from girls playing with boys to then girls coming into a new environment, or even playing with the boys. I've got two a lot younger sisters who are just getting into rugby, and the first session they were like, "Leanne, no one's passing me the ball." So just doing point systems around.
Sorry, can you do that again? Louder than impression of
Leanne, no one's passing me the ball.
That's class. Yeah, go on.
So I do know that I am aware that within girls playing with boys, things can get skipped. So just to try and, I'm not saying anything about kind of genderism, sexism, that kind of thing in rugby, but like I say, it worked for us in that tournament where we ended up winning the tournament. So just finding ways that you can either get some lesser experienced or lesser confident girls into the game by double points if you score the try, or whatever that might be, or if it's a little bit further afield and you're coming into 15-a-side game and looking at tactics or whatever that might be, just looking at either where you're scoring or how you score. Are you scoring from hands? Can you score from a kick to score? That kind of thing. So just kind of creating different competition within the ability and the ages that you've got in front of you.
Nice. Okay. And how about yourself in particular? Have you, as a scrum half, that's from a coaching point of view, how about you when you're in your playing role and people like Gary Street and those guys putting in a point system for you as an individual, as a scrum half? Is there a way in which a point system can be tailored around position specific stuff, or maybe too advanced for a particular level?
No, definitely valid. I think probably around scrum half, a lot of our stuff is done on your contribution to tries. So scrum halves don't necessarily score many tries. We might make some line breaks, like you say, put other people into space, or it's all down to the type of ball that we get and how quick or slow that might be. So there's been things like, if I made a line break and then we score the next phase after that, then I might get a reward for that. Or like I said, how many passes was I away if Jess Breach on the wing and Rachel Burford's put a ball over the top to her, which was coming from a real quick ruck in the middle of the pitch, that kind of thing. So it's how I contribute to some of the tries. So whether that's me looking for space around the breakdown, guards, bodyguards switching off, and turning nothing into something, or whether that's kind of the delivery that I'm giving to then allow the team to play, like, was the ball in front? Am I checking people? How quick was it? Could I have got it away quicker? Those kind of questions, especially for scrum halves.
Nice. Okay, so it's almost like a pre-assist. It's like an assist is the person that gives it, and then you're like the assister to that. Okay, nice. Okay, anything?
And also
like
another one. Sorry.
Go on.
I was just say another one which I've been trying to get more into my game is following through with that as well. So if there is a line break that I've either given a flat ball to someone else or Jess has gone on, staying alive on the inside and running those inside lines, so that was I an option for an offload if that fullback's come across and made that tackle? Am I offering myself as like that offload option or that supporting line? So there's things like that of what I'm doing off the ball as well as on the ball.
And anything particularly around kicking tactically that you could maybe, if I'm to go back over this and in hindsight, record a sort of flash minute or so, what could you or would you say about tactical kicking from a 9 or 10 point of view?
Good question. Kicking's something I've really been working on. It's a personal kind of weakness of mine, if you want to call it that, but I've been trying to bring it into my game a lot more. So around the tactical kicking, I've been working on kind of kicking in our own half. So either those kick to score opportunities, or if you're in that middle third of the pitch and you've gone a couple of phases and you haven't necessarily made ground, potentially the pressure's on us a little bit and the opposition have got one over on us, not making gain line, that kind of thing, going side to side. Just looking at that backfield space and who's in the back line predominantly, being alive to either put those little dinks over, those grubbers through, just to kind of exploit, and whether that's to get the ball back or if we've got a frontline chase. Real cliche, the kick is only as good as the chase. So if we've got that wall that's following it up, there it is.
There it is. There's the RF.
Yeah, just trying to relieve pressure. So yeah, trying to bring that into your game. How many times do I kick in training compared to how many times do I kick in a game? That kind of thing. So looking at ratios of kind of running, passing and kicking as well.
Perfect. There's a shout out. Daisy.dr.w jumped on it. Hello,
Daisy Drew. She's one of my scrum halves.
Oh, okay. Oh, so she knows you through this. Oh, cool. Anything for her? Give her a shout out publicly.
Always give them a shout out, but she knows what she needs to do. We've been chatting in lockdown, so keep doing what you're doing and working hard because it will pay off.
Nice, Daisy. There it is. Coach Riley, back at it again. Like it. Okay, next one.
Never stop working me.
Very good. Double points for girl. Next one was: have you always been a rugby player, or did it come to you late on?
I'd probably say always been, because obviously got into it through primary school, but I did a load of sports up until around the age of 16. And when I went to college and went to Malton, and kind of that's when I really took rugby seriously. So I used to do county netball, played football for a little bit, in goal and out, because when the ball was in the air, I struggled not to catch it at times, especially when I was getting into the sport. That was interesting. And I loved a bit of hockey as well. So yeah, I played a little bit of everything, but I got into it fairly young, which was lucky, I think. Okay,
thank you. So I want to move on, but someone's dragging me back to, there is a very consistent thing here, and I'm only bringing it up again because this is content gold for parents and players, especially young players, who can hear it now, they're listening now, but will listen on IGTV afterwards. I'll be really specific about this. Would you push a multi-sport upbringing between, sort of 6 and 16, those sort of years? Or would you say specify early?
Multi-sport, all day.
There it is. Cool, thank you. I just wanted to kind of hear it from you because, yeah, it's when people like yourself verify that, we as teachers and coaches and parents and people in at grassroots level who say it, and then the players look at you and think, well, you're just a coach. When professional people like yourself say that, that's really helpful. Thank you.
Quickest answer you'll get from me, I tell you.
Perfect. Have you always been? Right, another one. What are your, if any, pre-game routines or superstitions?
I don't really have any. I like to have a similar breakfast, although obviously some of our games are kind of mixture in terms of when they're played in the day now. But either way, no matter what time we play, I don't like to eat too much before a game. I don't like to feel too full, so I have enough that I've got enough energy, and then I'll obviously snack and stuff before. So I kind of have my poached eggs on a bit of toast, some avocado. That's my normal game day breakfast.
Sorry to jump back, but you just answered someone's question that's just come in off the back of that. Coincidental timing. Christopher Dowd. You're on now from Malton College, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah, a question about what do you eat before and after the game. Well, there we are, Chris.Dowd. Some information for you. Speed versus endurance, we'll come back to that. Okay, cool. So you're not really big on superstitions or routines per se. It's just have a good feed in you and go from there.
Yeah, at Harlequins, I did go through a phase of when we're doing our dynamic stretching, we always run out from the try line. And I went through a phase of having to be next to one of the posts in the middle of the pitch. Don't know why. There was one game, I'll never forget her reaction. There was one game where one of the props, Tova Vixton, I went to go near the post and she was there. And I kind of looked at her and I went, can we swap? She was like, why? I was like, I don't know, I just want to be near the post. But that's not necessarily, that was kind of a phase. I still do it now, but, you know, when we're with England, we have a totally different warm-up. So it's more probably just for club. But yeah, don't know where that came from. Don't ask.
No, it's fine. I know what you mean. These things just come into your mind and you just crack on. So I guess no is the answer, but good to know. Thank you. Okay. Are you an emotional player, or are you as cool as a cucumber?
Couple of years ago, I was definitely an emotional player. To be fair, I probably still am now, but I know how to. I like to think I know how to control my emotions a lot better. So yeah, I do get worked up. I think it's probably a bit strange if you don't at times, especially being in a scrum half position and having maybe so much pressure or so much influence on the control of a game. So yeah, I'd probably say I'm an emotional player, but I like to think I can control it a tiny bit.
No, nice. I like someone else's question, but I'll expand on that on myself, just because I did go back over a few interviews, and one of the things you mentioned about the difference between an international level, especially you go and play, and you train and you warm up, and then you get to the stadium, and it's all sort of building, and it's not really real. And one of the things you said was, and this is obviously the same thing for new players, young players at community level, but obviously you were climbing. One of the things you said was the huddle broke. You were in, and then the huddle broke, and then I think it was your cap, one of your first caps.
Yeah.
The windy situation over in, where was it again? Sorry.
It's in America, Colorado.
Yes, that was, and so I mean, obviously take over at any point here, but you said, I think it was when the huddle broke, and then it was game time, and the whistle was about to blow. You had a mix of emotions. You went from pretty relaxed, pretty cool, to, oh wow, this is actually happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything in particular you'd say to young players, young female players, male players, about managing emotions, or?
Again, this is probably something I'm still working on and finding out what works. Working out the why is something I really struggle with. So when people ask you questions of, oh, how did you feel here, or how did you feel there? Try it when someone says, why did you feel that way? Because literally my answer was, I don't know. So trying to work out, you know, what stresses me, like why was I stressed? If I put a ball to the floor and it didn't go to hand, obviously that was the outcome, and that was what started to, what we call maybe like a derail me, or started to stress me and take me off my game. But why did I do it? I think is something that I've kind of getting to grips with. So asking yourself the why as well as the what, I think is really important. And if I'd have known that sooner, potentially I'd have been in control of my emotions a lot quicker, or you know, when the scoreboard isn't looking so positive your way and you're stressed, whether that's Harlequins or England, as a scrum half, and especially, I haven't always been a scrum half, so especially as a fairly new scrum half, I start to think, is it down to me? Am I not giving a good enough ball? And you start to question things. So yeah, trying to find out the why a lot sooner, I think it would definitely help me if I was going back a few years.
Nice, thank you. Good to know. Any particular situation in which you recall you absolutely lost it and
yeah,
you kicked off? Do you want to share with the crowd, or is that?
Yeah, I can't remember what year, but it was France away, and the heavens opened, so it was dry. We'd been training in the build up to the game. Everything was looking good for the game, and the heavens opened. And again, this was I remember it being one of my first games for England, as a scrum half. I'm not sure if it was the first. And the heavens opened, and I thought, great, it's an evening kickoff, which I wasn't necessarily used to, but that didn't really cross my mind. I just thought, how am I going to get this greasy ball to Katie McLean the way she wants it, from Sarah Hunter at the back of a scrum? And the first couple of passes, believe it or not, weren't perfect, and my head went, and I thought, not good enough, I shouldn't be here, put me on the bench, get me off the pitch, and everything went from 0 to 100 in my head. So yeah, I had to soon have some harsh conversations with myself and some of the girls that were on the pitch that I was a bit closer to potentially at the time, because I was a younger player. Just have some conversations of, okay, this is what I need to do, this is why it's going wrong, let's get back on track. So yeah, definitely, especially at the back of one of the scrums, I dropped the ball for no apparent reason. So yeah, put a lot of pressure on myself, more than other people putting pressure on me, I think.
Okay, but I guess it was nice to know that you could rally around, and your mates would rally around you, and you got a good support network there. So
Yeah, definitely.
good to know. Good. We might actually address the there's a user here. Username is x.shani.xo. It's been very
Yeah, she
persistent.
said a couple of
Points
things,
for
I think.
consistency. Yeah, very persistent. Tips
Hey,
for scrum
Shani.
halves. I'm a scrum half for under 15 girls. Fair play. It's the fifth message she's put in. 10 seconds tips for x.shani.
Oh, hold on, I've missed this. Good tips for a scrum half. Um, Getting a grip of the ball, I think, again, going back to no matter what weather you're in, the tighter the spiral on your spin pass that you can get, whether it's wind, rain, X conditions, the tighter the spiral, the more accuracy you're going to get and the less deviation you'll get within your pass. So working on your grip, working on finding ways that work for you through your thumbs, your fingertips, your wrists, about getting that spiral as tight as you can. And we talk about when I'm doing shorter passes, so not going for length, we talk about how many spirals, how many rotations can you get on the ball before it gets made to be, that kind of thing. I think I've worked a lot on, which has massively helped when I've gone to, when you've moved from kind of grass pitch to 3G and you've got maybe the rubber crumb on the ball as well. Like I've already said, in bad weather and the pitches aren't so great, getting all of either the sandy mud or the mud off the ball, I think has massively helped. So definitely that.
Well, there's your tip. And she responded saying, OMG. She replied to my comment, good. I'm glad that's helped. Thank you very much, Leanne Riley.
No
Hope
worries.
that helps to Shani. So you mentioned one of the questions has come in about Gary Street. You mentioned Gary Street in a previous interview. So obviously, of course, a big shout out. Gary and I aren't exactly best mates, go for a pint in a pub, but we know each other through coaching world at Harlequins. So if he is listening here, then shout out to him. The question regarding that whole context is, we touched on it earlier, but about how important you think role models are to young people, and what type of things do you currently find yourself doing to put yourself in that role model light?
I think it's really important. Don't get me wrong. When someone's asked me who was my role model growing up, I didn't watch much rugby. And whether that was because I did a lot of other sports, I have no idea. I can't really answer that. So I didn't necessarily have one. But what I have noticed more probably from my coaching side is the impact I have on players and the amount of questions I get asked. This is more face to face, but then in the last couple of years it's come across to messages on Instagram and social media from girls that I know, but also girls that I don't know that are trying to contact me, ask for tips, ask those questions. So I think the game itself is a lot more accessible, and you say about a couple of years ago not being able to know where to watch women's rugby, it was never televised, that kind of thing. And don't get me wrong, we've still got progress to make, but Harlequins have done a great job of putting us on the DHL stands at the Stoop and having different faces, internationals and non-internationals, up there, and just knowing more about the game. So I think being accessible off the pitch as well as on, I think the girls are really good post-game, Harlequins or England, to go and interact with the crowd. Go and sign things, go and have conversations with people that you know, but making an effort to see people that you don't know. I've had people say, "Oh, I'm really sorry, like, please could you go and get so-and-so for me, like, or for my daughter, she's one of her idols." So you then go and find your teammate and go and take them to that kind of thing. I think that's massive. I think it plays a real big part of knowing someone in the England setup. So for one of the girls to say, I've had a conversation with Leanne Riley, I've had a conversation with Sarah Hunter, I think is massive. And like you say, the amount of girls that drop off in like those teenage years in the game, just by having that one connection, that one interaction with that player. I might keep one girl in the game, someone else might keep 5 girls in the game. We're just looking at growing the game at the grassroots, because that's where it's then going to grow professionally. So I think it's really, really important.
No, good, thank you. I appreciate you saying so, because it has that came in, but then I did a little bit of background digging, and there was a Harlequins-based program. Is it the Switch?
Yeah.
Is that still going? Is that a current one, or is that something that's changed names, or something came in and it said about still being involved in Switch, or is there a similar participation program that you're part of at the moment?
Probably. So I was part of the switch. If I'm completely honest, that went for a couple of years. I'm not sure if it's still going. More probably my fault for not continuing that. I know they're still in those schools in Twickenham and they're still building Harlequins amateurs and trying to get girls. A lot of their participation was also trying to get girls from those schools into clubs and working out that pathway and creating those connections. So yeah, I think it's massively important. I would love to be part of a participation program and try and kind of, the main thing is for me, I always like to see things 100%. So if I can't give my all to it, I'd rather not be a part of it at all than feel like I'm doing it half-heartedly, or I hate letting people down. So that's something that really struggles with me, which is probably partly why I haven't necessarily actively gone into those. I know Harlequins have done a lot of not February, but half-term and school holiday camps where a lot of the Harlequins girls go and be a part of that. So yeah, I think it's hugely important. I know at England we've got a programme at the moment. It's kind of part of the active schools. Is it called active schools? I think I'm getting too confused. All schools programme. I know the one you mean. Yeah. All schools programme. So we're looking at getting involved with that and trying linking kind of our locations to where that works. So yeah, I think role models are massively important, and I'm sure Harlequins are doing some great things, and if I can get involved this season, then that's something I definitely will do, because I love being part of the switch, going down and seeing the events that they did together and bringing all those schools together and playing the sport, and just seeing girls with a smile on their face passing a rugby ball around for the first, 10th, 50th time. Like it's a great event to go and be a part of. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm sure you guys will get stuck into some outreach, whether it's community, international, whatever it might be. But I'm sure you'll be doing some outreach stuff. So yeah, like I said earlier, maybe we can do some offline chatting about it. But yeah, that sort of community outreach would make some young female players' days. So good on you for doing that. Thank you. How a little bit digging, found out about the old 10-year rugby plan.
Yes.
Oh yes. How proud are you? And how regularly do you rub it in your sister's face that you are achieving your 10-year rugby plan?
Do you know what? I actually couldn't do what my sister does now. So I'm also so proud of her for what she's done. She's probably not even on here. She has got Instagram. But yeah, I am proud, but I haven't finished it. So I feel like I can't be proud yet. I'm not a World Cup winner yet.
You can be proud. You can be proud. You're in a process, and you're enjoying the process. Yeah.
I'm still working towards my goals.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I think, like I said in the interview where I kind of disclosed it, we had those big block computers. I was bored one half term or some kind of school holiday, and I just, like I say, I Googled kind of steps from under 18s into women's rugby, what I'd need to do, how could I get recognised. Because I was already part of a pathway through county and the divisional programme as it was back then. Now they've got all the centre of excellences kind of tied into the Tyrrells. So yeah, I stuck it on my wardrobe, and being completely honest, when my sister laughed at me and said, "You're never going to get there," I kind of half believed her, but I thought, well, at least I've got it on my wall anyway. I've done something today. So yeah, definitely proud. Like I say, haven't quite finished it. I'd love to have an opportunity to go to the World Cup next year and come back with the gold, not the silver. So yeah, we'll see what happens. And like I say, my sister's gone on and done great things. So every now and then she does say, "Oh, I wonder if we would have ever played rugby for England together if I'd have stayed in." So there's always those what ifs, but she's done a great job, and she's raising two amazing kids. So fair play to her.
Yeah, well, fair, yeah. You took the words out of my mouth. Fair play to her. And if you do speak to her soon, that wasn't anything malicious. That was just a hello. That was just a polite one involving.
No, that's fine.
Yeah. Well, yeah. No, good on you. What? If you just expand on that a tiny bit more, would you encourage? How old were you when you did that list? It must have been early teenagers. No, mid.
2008, because it was 2008, because it was 2018 World Cup that then got brought forward. So
and then you went to that World Cup, right? You went to 2017.
I did go to the World Cup, yes.
Yes. So then okay, so 9 years into it. Okay. So would you that kind of thing that you would potentially encourage young players to do, or is that maybe going to come across a bit too intense to, write them down and go and meet them? I don't know if that's. Would you want that message to be passed across, or?
Yeah, I think everyone works differently. Like I said, I put that plan together and I probably didn't think I was going to do it myself. It's just quite ironic and maybe a coincidence that actually I've gone on and done everything. The only thing I would say to the young girls, that I know there's a lot of young girls out there that do want to be either play in the Tyrrells or be a Red Rose, is you've got to know how to get there. Like I said, I had to research what to do. So it's all well and good saying I want to play for England, but if you are genuinely serious about it, time will fly by. And going up in the age groups, it's not a 1 year age band. You jump up from under 15s to under 18s, which is a huge step up. Like, you've got 15-year-olds playing against 17, turning 18-year-old girls. So there's a lot of competition there, and you'll go through being really confident because you might be one of the fastest, one of the biggest, one of the strongest at under 15s level, and then you go up to under 18s and all of a sudden you're one of the youngest. You may be one of the smallest, you might be a little bit slower compared to some of the other girls. So with the age banding, mentally that's got to play a part in. So if you really want to play for England, what I'm trying to say in a shorter term, without babbling on because I'm conscious of time as well, is just know what you've got to do. Work out a timeline. So by the time I'm 17, I want to have been recognised by a centre of excellence and go into those trainings. Then when I'm 18, I'm going to research the nearest Tyrrells clubs and go and trial out for a couple of pre-seasons. Then when I'm 20, etc. So I just think, personally, I like having a goal, and that worked for me, and I split that timeline up. 10 years might be a bit extreme. I'm not saying everyone needs to be that serious. But yeah, knowing the pathway and having those little steps so that before you know it, 3 years later, you say you want to play for England and you still haven't got recognised by a centre of excellence and you're 17 turning 18, that kind of thing. So I think that definitely helped me, because I didn't know part of the pathway until I'd actually had a look at it. But like I say, everyone's different. I wouldn't say one rule fits for everybody. I think do what works for you. But if you are serious, you've got to take a bit of time, as with anything, whether it's rugby or a career or whatever, you've got to take time to look into it if that's something you want to do.
There we are. Thank you very much. That's a fantastic soundbite. All right, last two. We are closing in on the ending. There's a big part that you said about your closely knit family when you were really, really young, and that feeling of family. The question, is it the feeling of family that keeps you turning up and competing every day, or is it your own ambition, individual goals?
So, again, trying to be really short for time, I can talk for England, I know. My family was really close-knit, and we all, there was literally my mum, my dad, me and my sister, that was it. Mum and dad split up. We all, like I said, we all lived in one house, and now we're all scattered across everywhere. So things change. I found, real cliche, but I found a second family through rugby. So whether that was Harlequins, whether that was my under 18s, my friends are potentially 5 or 10 minutes down the road. My family are a couple of hours away. So I think probably it's not necessarily my ambition. I think it's the network around me. So I've got a close network around me of real tight friends that, I put my body on the line for on a pitch, and we go to the dark place on the watt bike together and X, Y, and Z. And then I've got my family back home that come and support me on all my big games or travel when they can. And that's my escape. So when I do need a bit of time out, I can drive home and just chill out. So I've got two real good support networks in different ways that work for me.
Again, ridiculously good soundbite. You should make a career out of this. You need to be sent somewhere, a little snippet of information for inspiration for young people. And you should
thanks.
You should get some scripts together. Have you seen that little thing at the top there saying 122 remaining? Or is that just for the host? I don't know.
No, I can't see anything.
Yeah, just for the host. Something's just popped down. That's really helpful. Instagram have actually updated their software. Something's just popped down at the top there saying 1 minute and 7 seconds remaining. So this is perfect timing to wrap it up. Thank you very much. One of the last things that I added on to the script was, if you had 30 seconds to wrap up, to give our young aspiring female players a message, what would it be? But I think you've already done that. So unless you have something particularly new and catchy, then we're good to go.
No, I'll just say to you, like, thank you for having me and inviting me on. Like I say, I love doing this kind of thing, inspiring girls, boys, parents, coaches, whatever it might be. So thanks for having me. I've really enjoyed it. And yeah, hopefully, like you say, we can take chat offline, and hopefully this won't be the last thing that we potentially do together or whatever. But yeah, keep going at it, girls. You're doing great jobs, and we'll hopefully be back to rugby when it's safe and ready to do so.
Amazing work. Thank you very much. As we're counting down, that is 12 seconds. 11 seconds. So,
Perfect.
yeah, thank you. We'll love you, leave you, and we'll speak offline. Take care
You
of yourself.
too. Thank you very much.
Have a good evening.
Bye.